How's it hanging, YouTube? It's Peter here, your ginger Geordie geek, and I'm fresh back from seeing Superman. Let's see what I thought. Okay, before we get into it, please do consider hitting like and subscribe, and perhaps becoming a channel member. It all helps. Now, I'm going to start off by telling you all I am a Superman fan, so that might temper my review in some way. Also, I'm not really into the whole bashing of the Man of Steel, the Snyder controversy, and all that crap. I like films because I like getting a bit of action. That sounds wrong. I like films because I like action movies, I like a bit of heart and all the rest of it, and I'm happy to see Superman on the screen. So I'm not Snyder versus Gunn and all that rubbish. Now, it's worth saying before we crack on, there are going to be some minor spoilers in this review. Let's start off with the basic synopsis of this flick. It's set 3 years after Superman has announced himself to the world, and at this point in time, he is regarded as the most powerful hero on the planet. People know he's an alien, they know he's from Krypton, and he's been doing good stuff over those 3 years. The film starts when he's had his first real beatdown and had the shit kicked out of him. This is the first time Superman's really been defeated, which is an interesting entry point, I think, for this movie. As the plot develops, we'll get a bit of political intrigue. We'll have two neighbouring nations that are at war with each other for Christ knows what, and Superman has stuck himself right in the middle of it and stopped a war. And in his words, people were going to die. So without thinking of the political consequences, he's just getting stuck in and saved a lot of lives. The government are a bit worried about having this super-powered Boy Scout getting involved with stuff that really he shouldn't be getting involved with. We've got Luthor stuck in the middle here, who, because it's a Superman film, and he does it in every film, has got a bit of a plot about trying to get his poxy little paws on some land. He spends the movie trying to prove that Superman is a bad guy to make people lose faith in the Man of Steel. We then get some action with some super powered bad guys. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I think you've probably worked it out by now who Ultraman is. We get those guys involved, we get some fighting, we get some interdimensional kind of rift thing going on, and then we get a pretty standard Superman love story with Lois and all the rest of it. So, cut to the chase. What did I think overall of this movie? Well, like I said at the start, I am a Superman fan, so my view may be slightly coloured by that, but frickin' hell, I loved it. I thought this was a cracking movie, and that is not to take away from any of the previous films we've seen with Superman, but for me, this really did represent everything I want to see from Big Blue on the big screen. David Cornsworth is phenomenal as Superman. I really believed this character. I loved his portrayal of both Superman and Clark Kent, although we don't get to see a great deal of Clark in this film. But I thought his performance was top notch, but that is not to take away from any of the other performances. I thought the entire cast were superb. I had gone into this a little bit worried because I'd heard some negativity about Nicholas Holt's portrayal of Lex Luthor. Bollocks, he's brilliant in this. I absolutely believed him as Lex, and this for me was one of my favourite iterations of Lex Luthor. Yes, he's a maniacal billionaire nutcase, but I truly believed that a lot of his actions were because he really feared Superman. The battles in this are spectacular. There are some great fighting sequences. The action is amazing. We get loads of cool uses of Superman's powers. I really enjoyed the Kaiju fight halfway through the movie, and Krypto, as expected, is phenomenal. But, little bit of a twister there. Krypto's not actually Superman's dog. It's his cousin's dog, who turns up at the end. I want to touch briefly on the Trunks debate. And the truth of the matter is, I couldn't give a shit. So, I've always loved superheroes, I've always loved superhero costumes, so I'm not one of those people who, leading up to this movie, was getting myself all hot and bothered about the fact that he was wearing what I consider the iconic Trunks. But, what I want to say to you is, going into this film, it just disappeared for me. Now, for some people it might irritate them, I don't know. But for me, at no point did I look at him and think, oh, you look silly. When this movie was first announced, I had some worries about it. And that was because James Gunn, for me, writes great scripts, but he also tends to insert some of that trademarked James Gunn humour. I was worried that this would really impact this movie. Superman for me isn't a funny character, but you know what? This really works. I think the humour was just on point in this film. There are a couple of occasions where I thought, oh, you could have done without that silly joke. But you know what? In general, it works really well. Another element I was really a little bit worried about was the whole ensemble cast. I thought there was too many super characters. We've got Guy Gardner in there, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, and a couple of others who show up. I shouldn't have worried. These guys really add to the plot. They don't overshadow Superman. They add a comedic element at points. They add to the action sequences. And for me, they really help to emphasize the importance of Superman. There are some great scenes where you can see that Superman's morality, Superman's perception of, not killing people, for example, is out of kilter with some of these other superheroes on screen. And because we've got that dialect, it makes it feel all the more real. So actually, I think they brought a lot to the film without actually diminishing Superman in any shape or form. I'd also add that Metamorpho was one of my favourites. I thought he was brilliant. But Mr. Terrific, standout character for me. I think he deserves his own movie. Guy Gardner was great. They were all friggin' great. I loved them. Now, this is not a movie without fault. It is a brilliant film and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it isn't perfect. And I've come away and I can't quite put my finger on what I mean by that. I think the start, the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes were good, but I was sitting thinking, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. There's something not quite connecting for us. But I quickly forgot that. As the movie went on and I got into the universe and the world, that disappeared out of my mind. But I am left with a feeling that whilst this is a great film, it's still not a masterpiece. People are going to naturally compare this to Man of Steel and the Snyderverse and all that kind of stuff. For me, it's two very different characters. I think at some point, we lost our way a little bit with Superman. People, I think, became a little bit obsessed with Superman being the stronger than a locomotive character, the most powerful man on screen. He's got to be able to beat the living crap out of everything and everyone, which is fair enough to a point, but I think we lost sight of Superman's real power. And that's not his strength, that is his heart, his humanity. He's a man of hope, of belief. He loves everybody, he saves anybody he possibly can. He's looking for the best in all people. That's the power of Superman, that he's the best of all. He's what we should all aspire to be. So yes, he can shoot heat vision, have freeze breath, bend steel bars and all that kind of stuff. But his real strength is the fact that he'll put himself in harm's way to save a child or to rescue a squirrel. Yeah, he rescues a squirrel in this. Some people will not like that. Some people will think that's hokey and all the rest of it. But for me, that is intrinsically what the character of Superman is all about. He should inspire us to be better than we are. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I recommend you check it out. I really would recommend you go and see it at the cinema on the big screen. It's got some great heart to it, some great action sequences, and at points, I really did tear up. There's some beautiful elements to this film. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good, and it's an amazing start to James Gunn's DC universe. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Superman. Did you enjoy it? Did you think the humour was of the right balance? Who is your favourite character in it? Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. That's your whack.